Hello, and this is Crazy Little Squirrel, and today we are doing a review on the Fist Descendant. Now, overall, the Fist Descendant is not a bad game. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, because I honestly think the game can be enjoyable, and the system overall is it can be a very friendly system. As I've played some of the games that I think this system has sort of inherited ideas from. Now, the game isn't perfect. There are definitely some areas of the game that I think the devs should improve on. Such as some of the activities in the game. I feel like that they should definitely improve on. One of these activities that you can find is these encryption vaults, and you won't find them everywhere, but you'll find them in some areas using a feature that you'll discover. I believe it's either R3 or L3. And it'll do this little center of ping. You'll eventually hear when you get a high-pitched version of this, and eventually you'll find like these floating statues. Now, when you go into these, it'll ask you to sort of hit a brightened area of the circle with as the rotating cursor is spinning. I either find they can be very annoying. I think they're bugged, and I think they are not very good. Overall they're good idea, but on paper, but I think the execution is terrible. I do feel like they need to improve it somehow. Like, maybe make it to where find a way why hits aren't registering. Because I've seen it to where I have tapped it in the radius of the circle or inside of the highlighted area, and it's counting as a failed attempt, and I find it annoying. However, and not as well as the battlefield missions. The battlefield missions are something that you'll very much have already encountered if you played the game, and they are essentially like patrols of Destiny, and I do find it tedious just for the simple fact that they are all the same thing. However, it's not something I think that they just need to add more variety. That way they don't feel monotonous. I do feel like that overall the game does have some ups and downs. One thing I will comment on is the grind. The grind is honestly, I think it's good. It's very reminiscent to Warframe's grind and how you obtain prime parts there. You would usually open a relic or two, and you would get prime parts to help get a prime weapon or Warframe you're after. Here it works the same way. You use these amalgamous matters to get either Descendant parts or weapon blueprints, or even weapon blueprint parts. And with these, you will be able to get, you will be able to get closer to obtaining said weapon or Descendant you want. For instance, I'm currently trying to go after Viessa, which is apparently one of the starter Descendants you can choose between Viessa, Lepic, and Ajax. Currently I only have one of her parts, but as you can see in this amorphous material pattern 014, I can get her stabilizer blueprint, and it continues like this. It works with almost all of them, except for a select few like Freyna, Blair, and Sharon. Those three are kind of gated behind missions you do in the game. Now, I will say that the grind isn't perfect. I mean, I won't say the grind isn't perfect, but I will say that overall, in terms of obtaining some of these parts, it needs to be ironed out. Just for the simple fact that it feels like it's more difficult to obtain certain things than others. Like when I was grinding for Freyna, I felt like I was farming a mission like more than 10 times trying to obtain just one part when it was a 20% chance. So in theory, at most you should be doing 5 missions to get a piece for Freyna, for each of those missions that you're doing. Outside of the grind is fine. I think it is a good implementation and all that. In terms of characters, they have a really good variety. Like Lepic, I honestly think that he is really good. Bunny, she's really good at ad clear. I honestly think she's not that bad of a descendant. Freyna, I haven't really tried her out a whole lot, but I can see that she has some promise. Ajax, I'm pretty sure he also seems pretty solid. All of these descendants seem very solid. And of course, as you can see here, you have ultimate versions of these descendants. I'm not entirely for sure if they're supposed to be entirely better or if they're just solely as a cosmetic purpose. Now, from what I've seen, a lot of these ultimate descendants, you can get their parts or blueprints you get from doing the harder version of the game, and of course you won't be able to access the harder version until you've completed the campaign on the normal. And speaking of campaign, the campaign is not that bad. Of course, it's not perfect. The writing could definitely use some things. Can definitely use some improvement. It's not on the scale of how Warframe does theirs, or how Destiny 2 can sometimes do their writing for their expansions. For example, like the Final Shape, that has some really solid writing. It is definitely something that they should improve on, and overall also improve overall just generally improving the story, because I feel like some of these instances like Lepic here, or some of the other sense outside of like Bunny, because as of right now she's only the only person I know of that has a descendant quest. Though I have heard that in the dev blog, or not dev blog, but in the roadmap and with interviews that the descendant developers or people that work with the developers have said that they are planning on adding some things. Trading is one thing they said, but they're trying to get the server stable so that way they can properly implement it. Overall, the First Descendant, is this a game you should try out? If you like the theme of looter shooters with a grind, very similar to things like Warframe and Destiny 2, or even The Division to an extent, this is a game you should try out. It is not that bad of a game. I often find myself enjoying it quite a bit, despite how boring it can feel sometimes. As a gamer, we have to sort of just power through the boring stuff of a game to get to the better stuff. I mean, it's similar to how when it came to farming for a prime Warframe and Warframe, or trying to get an exotic weapon or exotic piece of armor from Destiny 2. It is a bit of a grind. You just have to power through it so you can get what you want, and it'll feel rewarding after that. That's how these looter shooters work. You grind for a certain piece of gear, and you eventually get what you want. It won't be instantaneous, but that's how luck works. Overall, the First Descendant isn't that bad of a game. Solid 7.5 or 8 out of 10. But of course this game it just came out, and there's going to be bugs, there's going to be issues, there's going to be things that the players do not like. The developers will should take your feedback and honestly apply it to their game to make it better. Like things like the encryption vaults, or how things feel in the game. The developers will listen to that, and they will make sure to develop it in a way that makes it feel better. Overall, First Descendant's not bad.